channel. My name is Sylvia, and for today's video I've got my top 10 spooky tarot and oracle decks in front of me. It's the 8th of October today, so I realize I'm sort of late to this party, but I still wanted to give this video a try, just so I finally branch out from my usual content, which is flip-throughs and walkthrough of decks. So here I am, braving the internet with this video, and yeah, let's get started. I'm pretty satisfied with my collection this year. I've got a really nice selection of scary and funny decks. I've got some witchy decks as well, some shamanic, and even a little bit of fair. But you won't see the typical Halloween themed decks, simply because I live in Central Europe, where we celebrate All Souls Day. So the Halloween culture, is that how you say it? It was never really a part of my life as I grew up. So for a typical All Souls Day, our family would go to the cemetery and we would pray for our dead family members. But I've never really done trick-or-treats or costume parties or bonfires. And whenever I was trying to connect to a Halloween themed deck, it just never really happened. But luckily I've got a lot of other really beautiful decks to use in the autumn season and in the spooky season. So here is number 10 in this beautiful red velvet bag, and this is the Tarot of the Vampyres. Oops, it's a little bit slippery. So I keep this in a bag because the box is so huge that I just, it would be really difficult to store it on a shelf with all the rest of my decks. And I just really love the 1990s vibes of this one. It reminds me of Anne Rice and her Vampire series. And it also reminds me of the European metal and rock scene as well, for some reason. I got this deck out this year because I'm still trying to connect with it, to be honest. Like, this has been a part of my collection for years now. It was one of the first decks that I bought after I started to practice tarot really seriously. And I really love the guidebook. I think the guidebook of this deck is just fantastic. But this deck for me is really difficult to connect with. I'm still trying though, and it gives me good readings. So every once in a while in this spooky season, it finds its way onto my table. Okay, the next one, number 9. This is the Mother of the Crows Tarot. So look at this beautiful, beautiful box. I just love the contrast. I think it's really, really pretty. Let's have a look at this deck as well. Yeah, it's beautiful, black and white, elegant, but it freaks me out sometimes with some of the images. And I actually really love that about this deck. It's in order right now because I'm planning to do a flip through with it. But this deck is it's down to serious business all the time. So whenever I do a reading with it, it's not going to act cutesy. If you know, it knows that you need to hear the truth about your question, and it's going to give you the truth without any filters. gorgeous. Okay, next one, number 7, the Lubanko Tarot. I don't think that a lot of people, apart from me, this one is a spooky season deck, but I swear to you, it reminds me of a dark fairy tale. It's beautiful, beautiful art. Like this prince, for example, like he looks like he could be in any fairy tale, to be honest. But then it's got some pretty dark cards as well, like this knight here, or this card. It's just, the style is so beautiful. I cannot get enough of these vibrant colors. It's just so pleasing to look at these cards. Look at her, so beautiful. And now look at him. Now that's a scary emperor right here. The style actually reminds me of a comic book based on Neil Gaiman's adaptation of Snow White. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the artist, and I hate not remembering names of artists, but the name of the book is Snow, Glass, and Apples, I think. So I think if you want, you can just look it up online. It's an amazing story and with amazing illustrations. So this was number 7, the Lubanko Tarot. Oops. And now on to number 6, which sits in this beautiful, beautiful bag, which originally this bag came with my Light Visions Tarot deck, which I don't have anymore, but I love this bag enough to keep it. And now my Antique Anatomy is living in it. This is the Hungarian version, so you probably won't be able to read the titles of the cards. I got this especially for spooky season this year because it's a recent publication by a Hungarian company. And you know, it's always a hit or miss with Hungarian tarot and oracle decks, just because the quality of the cardstock isn't really great all the time. But I'm actually pretty satisfied with this deck. It's nicer than most other Hungarian decks that I've seen so far. So I'm really enjoying working with this. Although with all these flowers around, I think this is going to make a really, really good springtime deck as well. Let me just quickly put this back into where it belongs. There we go. Number 6 is the Old Ways Magic Oracle by Naomi Kornok. I fell in love with this deck for the first sight, and I'm actually super happy that I found it, because this is the first fair/fairy deck that I connected to. Or I'm not actually sure that these are meant to be fays, like this pair here, but that's who they remind me of. And some of these cards are very witchy or even crony. Look at her, This art is just so beautiful, and there is so much detail in these cards, in every single card, that if you include this in a reading, then prepare for a long reading, because for a good amount of time you are not going to talk about anything else, just the card that you are pulling from this deck. It's absolutely amazing. I'm really, really in love with this deck. Look at this. So all these little details, absolutely stunning. Like, this is the type of deck that every time you look at it, you find something new that you haven't seen before. And it's actually a pretty big size deck. Like, look at my hand. Look at this. My hand is pretty big, so I cannot complain most of the time. But this deck is huge, and I wouldn't want it any other way, because I think just all these little details that are in these illustrations would just be lost on a smaller card. I'm in love, seriously. I really recommend everyone to get this deck. Okay, at number 5 we have the Dark Mansion Tarot from Tarot Studio. And oh, I love this packing. And this is one of my funnier decks. It's cutesy and funny and cheeky, quirky. I love this deck card. It's actually one of my favorites. The imagery of the cards are pretty summary. Like in every image, you can see, summer vibes in the background with the green grass, and bright sun. But somehow it gives me very serious autumny energies. So I prefer to pull this out in the autumn and winter season. Sometimes I wish I had 3 hands. It's two just not enough sometimes. And then at number 6 we've got the Deviant Moon Tarot, which I think is a part of everybody's collection. They edge mine in this burgundy red color. This is a deck that everybody knows. If you don't own it, that for sure you've heard about it from somebody else already. But I really love this deck for diving deep into topics that people don't want to talk about, myself included. So whenever I do shadow work purposefully, this deck is always a part of my practice. Okay, the Deviant Moon Tarot was by Patrick Valenza, and this deck is by Patrick Valenza as well, and it's Mildred Payne's Oracle of the Black Enchantment, and mine is the Midnight Edition. So there are several editions available on his webshop. I think there's a red one like a blood red one. And then there is the original, which is like a sepia toned with browns and blacks. But when I got my edition, well, I got this when it was first published, and I think the blue is just gorgeous. I do find it a little too dark to my liking, so sometimes I do wish that I had the original version. But I'm in love with these images. So expressive, and you know, all of them just tell a story. Whenever I pull a card, like I can build a complete story with it. Especially if I draw multiple cards. And yeah, probably you already guessed that this is for shadow work only, at least in my practice. And I do like to pair this with the Deviant Moon Tarot. Some of the images are a little too creepy, but like in a cute way. I can't really explain how I feel about this deck. And then number 2 is my Zombie Tarot. Another deck that you probably heard about already. And another edging job that I've done on a deck. And just, I love how funny this is. Like, it's so effortlessly funny, but also brutally honest. It's so easy to read as well. And every time, even though the topics I'm asking from this deck are usually very serious, they always do make me laugh, which I think it's one of my favorite attributes in a deck, because I tend to be very dramatic when I read for myself. So the way this card pulls me back from the dramatic side of the situation is very much appreciated. And then number 1, this guy here. This is my favorite acquisition of 2022. And I actually got this deck out of sort of a spite. Let's call it that. I fell in love with the Halloween deck. I really wanted to buy the Trick or Treat Tarot from Lament Publications, but to ship that deck to my country would have cost almost the same as this deck cost me. So, you know, just because I didn't want to pay indie price for a mass market deck, I went with the Boo Tarot, and I do not regret it one bit, because I fell in love with this deck. I actually uploaded my walkthrough of this just a few days ago, and I fell completely in love while doing it. Just these little ghosts are so cute. Like, even this 8 of Swords, ghost here trapped within the these words. It looks so cute. I just really want to give it a hug. So this one is probably the Halloweeniest deck I have in this pile, and only because it's got some pumpkins and trick and treat vibes in a few cards. Just look at him protecting all these little friends with the faces who live inside this house. Just, I'm in love with this deck, honestly. I don't think I will ever let this out of my hands, at least not in October. So yeah, this is it. This is my opa. There's a card stuck in here that I just can't get out. Here you are. So yes, this is my top 10 spooky tarot and oracle decks. I hope that you found something interesting in it, and I hope you had a good time going through them with me. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.